relationship wasn't shit back in the day. They didn't give a damn about the relationship. You know, Mr. So-and-so gonna be here for his rent in the morning. You know we got to pay them utility bills now that we have water in the house.
So
and
it was
toilet.
more of a partnership.
You goddamn right. And they let a whole lot of shit slide. Because they had a pot on the front burner boiling. The one on the back just had heat under it. They took care of the lounge at the front door. And they let all that shit slide. And some of these men was pitiful. I look at old time, real cotton picking day movies where the man, it wasn't bad enough they was getting dogged to death by the plantation owner. The man would beat the wife unmercifully for something silly. Instead of him going to jump on that other party that he living under, you know what I mean? No, he'd take it out on the wife. Women been catching hell since the beginning of time. Relationship wasn't shit.
Stop it, dog. Shit. Man, let me tell you something.
You heard it from an OG.
Yeah, that's a long running narrative. Hey, there's no doubt. The same dudes, the same niggas back then was beating the hell out of women. We got the same ones today. The same one doing the same thing. The same women that's doing a lot of the same things today, they was doing it back then. Except for Facebook, social media, all that shit was done at church, at the grocery store. That's what grandma went down there when she shopping, making grocery, doing different things like that. That's when she hooked up. When she was in the cafeteria, in the choir, that's when she hooked up. That's why you got one of your uncles that don't look the same. That's why you got a dark-skinned grandmother and all her kids dark and her whole family dark. And this dude looked like goddamn Terrence Howard. All the kids is 5'9" and below. This nigga 6'7". Oh, that's why they've been doing the same thing. Now I'm not finna say women was doing it on doing it more than men. I don't know. That's been a long running argument, but it was happening then, just like it is now. Just like it was simps then that love they women. Y'all think simps just came around? Don't you know these dudes was simps back in the day? They wouldn't dare put their hand on a woman. Hell, they was barely happy to be with the woman because the woman like shit, pay all the bills. Shut down, shut up, do what I say. They wouldn't dare hit no woman. It's the same amount of simps now that just like it was then. It's the same amount of dude that like to try to roughhouse women back then, just like they do now. Same thing.
Stop it.
So he can go ahead on with this here, cuz.
Stop
go
it.
ahead on, man.
What the man is saying is that long suffering has been for women. Some, men have been mistreating women and being negative towards women and aggressive towards women for a long time. And the women accepted it because they needed to be provided for. Like he said, as long as the bills was paid, the pot was on the stove, there was something to eat, she had to take whatever she had to take. And still today, there's some women that are in that position because the man is in a position of power. They have to take whatever that man does. There's a price for some of that. And that's what a lot of us fail to realize. They look at these women and see them having these glamorous lives, dating all these athletes, dating these, look at just Puffy situation. They think it's all good and glamorous when you look at it, but they don't see what's behind the scenes. They don't understand that with some of these men, there's a price that comes with that lifestyle. And that's all he's saying. Some women have been getting their ass whooped. Not you thinking it's happened today because y'all can see it on social media. This ain't something new that's been going on. And yes, you're right. Some women allow themselves to get into those positions and they stay there with them dudes. They stay there for a long time with them dudes taking all that. And then, but see, we living in a new time because women now have a voice. And so when they open up their mouth and talk about getting their behinds beat, there's monetary value in that. But as long as there's no monetary value in it, they needed to be taken care of. They took a lick upside the head, took that makeup and covered that black eye or whatever was going on. It was fine. But there's a price that come with that. A bad dude is just a bad dude. He's just a bad dude with money. Ain't no, like you said, ain't changed. They just bad dudes with money. And some women will allow themselves to sign up for that shit. That's all.
Let me ask you something. And ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to follow me on this here. I'm gonna ask you something. Have you ever seen pictures of your grandmother or aunties?
Yes.
Like when they were young?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us looked at our grandparents, aunties, and they was beautiful women, fine women, right? The world act as if that woman and what's my man's name? Jesse, Uncle Jesse, was the only dude that was willing to pay bills for her. Nigga, don't you know Charlie Earl, the Deacon Charlie Earl, and your grandma were making eyes at church? Deacon Charlie Earl worked at the plant. Deacon Charlie Earl had money too. Don't you know your grandma and aunties had options too? Y'all act like these women didn't have no option, so they could stay with their husband. Their husband also knew that Charlie Earl was making eyes with his old lady. And his old lady, don't you know your grandma played on that? Don't you know your aunties played on that shit back then? Nigga, you put your hands on me, I'll leave you and go over here with Charlie Earl. Y'all act like that didn't never exist. Y'all act like that when she got with Jesse, that was the only man that wanted her. He paid all the bills and that was it. That y'all act like women didn't act that way like they do today. They did. They had options too. They try to make it seem like they didn't have no option. No, they picked these people just like women pick these bad boys today. And they can't seem to get away from them. And instead of getting with a guy that's not going to put their hands on them, they stay with this fool. So let's not act like women had to stay with these men like they didn't have no options at all. A lot of these women were beautiful women, and you would agree. So you think if your auntie is beautiful, your grandma is beautiful, that's the only man that's looking at her? That's the only man that got a job they're looking for?
Listen, I agree with half of what
Come
you're
on
saying.
now.
I agree with half of what you're saying, but what you're not, what the part that you're leaving out of that is just like today. Everybody is deceived. You meet the representative. That guy is good to you when he's trying to court you. He's good to you when he's trying to be with you. But then after you've married him or you've been with him for a while and there's a couple of children deep in, then what do you want that person to do? Because see, now another man ain't so, I don't care how fine you are,
That's
to take you now with several kids. You know that's not an easy task. And back then,
niggas
it was even
now.
harder. Let me finish. I'll let you talk.
Go ahead.
Back then, it was even harder because women wasn't having 1 and 2 kids. They was having 12, 13, 14, 15 kids back in the days. So no man ain't willing to go and take Miss Bertha after another man had dumped all those kids off inside of her. So yeah, she had to take it because the men were the breadwinners. Women could not get jobs that would afford to take care of all those kids. That is what he's talking about. He's talking about from the beginning of the time when men had all the power. That's what he's talking about. And even now, there are some women who I will agree put themselves in that position for the limelight. But when they start with these guys are not treating them bad. They're flying them all over the place, buying $30,000 purses, taking them on these elaborate trips and stuff, buying them all kinds of clothes, all kinds of jewelry. They treat them real good. But then after a relationship go on for a while and pressure start hitting them about all that money they spending, then they want to turn around and start beating on a woman. Yeah, you have options in the beginning and you choose the best option that you think ain't gonna happen until they turn. That's just like women who get with men. Men get with these women and these women are good to them, doing everything right, cooking and cleaning and treating them good. And then when they marry her, all of a sudden, or he loses his job or something happened and that money ain't there, then she start treating him any kind of way. You know, people take advantage of that. You don't always get the real person up front. So how you don't know you should go with another option because the options that's being presented to you seem to be the best option at that time. Come on now.
Yeah, but y'all running the narrative as if all men back in the day was horrible to women and they had no choices at all. And that's
Kevin.
simply not the truth. Yes, did that happen? Yes, it did. Just like it still do today.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not play this thing as if our grandmother, some of our grandmothers, be frank, guys, let's be honest. Some of our grandparents are trifling. Some of our aunties are trifling. They just was. They had high body counts. They got a whole bunch of children from a whole bunch of different dudes. Why? Because they probably didn't take no shit from the dudes, and they were running around being promiscuous, and they just up and left. A lot of them stayed in, man, some of these women stayed in their grandparents' house. They ain't have no house, nope. They ain't have no bills. Not like talking about it. There's plenty of women, grandmothers and grandparents that were in their 80s and living with a dude and ain't now had 6, 7, 8, 9 kids, and the dude, he ain't had no kids with the woman. So let's not play this game like our grandparents are just some great saint. Our great auntie was some saints, and this dude sitting up here talking about men was so hard on women back then. No. Men ain't been shit back then. Man, stop that bullshit.
He's saying women have always been catching hell, and that's what he's saying. Regardless of what song or fashion, he said women have
I'm gonna tell you this
been catching hell.
Listen, you know? My dad had worked with one of his co-workers. Hey, and my dad worked at a plant for like 43 years. Worked with a co-worker that worked right beside him 43 years. This dude married a woman. The woman had 7 children. He didn't have no children with her, and he ended up paying child support on all 7 of them. I'm just telling you.
That's not, you're trying to spin what the video is talking about. He's saying that women been catching it. Yes, you are. Because he's not creating a narrative that all women have been catching hell. He said women have been catching hell since the beginning of time, and they're still catching hell today. There are some women who are still catching hell.
He's insinuating
by choice. Some of
Caprice, he's insinuating.
Okay, that's your take on it. That's your take. He didn't say. He said women have been catching hell from the beginning of the time. Women have been getting their ass beat.
I'm not gonna let you make our audience have to be stupid because they're not stupid. Yeah. That's exactly what he's doing.
No, he's not.